Coming up in this episode of PWD Allies podcast.
You can get from Victoria outbound to Cowichan on that bus that leaves Duncan in the morning, but you can't come back the same day. The only day that you can actually get to and from Cowichan is on a Saturday.
PWD Allies, the best disability podcast in Canada. Starring your hosts, Brent Frain. And as always, his producer and editor, Neil Matheson.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in. Number one topic today that I'm going to be talking about on today's podcast, and thanks for tuning in, it's all about transportation. And so if you enjoy hearing me talk about transportation, then you might want to tune into this segment. And so here we go. Why is there still no reliable and accessible public transit connecting communities not available on Vancouver Island? That is the topic I'm going to be talking about today. So on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, we have different communities have their own regional transit system that they're responsible for their own public transit. In the greater Victoria Regional District, they have their own transit. They're responsible for their own funding for their own transit. Then we got the Cowichan Valley, which is they're responsible for their own public transit. But getting back to Victoria first before I jump into Cowichan transit. Victoria Public Transit, it's a whole broad range area. Like there's Saanich, there's Souk, there's Langford, there's a whole bunch of areas way out in Sydney. If you're familiar with the area, Sydney, which is still technically still part of Victoria, it's just like a suburb.
I thought it was Australia.
Sydney, Australia. Yeah, Sydney, Australia, Victoria.
Good day, mate.
Yeah. Good day, mate. Yeah, all aboard. Sydney is an area that is closer to the BC Ferries terminal. It's actually not too far. You take a number 70 or 72 from downtown Victoria on the transit, and it'll take you up to the ferry terminal. It's not a hop, skip, and a jump from downtown. It's about a 45 to 50 minute ride on the number 70. The 72 is a little bit longer, takes more of a scenic route, a little bit of farmland. It's kind of nice, actually. I do enjoy taking that bus when I do make my way down that way. Just more of a different change of scenery. And it goes through Saanich Bus Exchange, and you go around and you see cows and horses and farmland. It's really beautiful. I've seen the scenery, especially when the sun's coming up too. It's gorgeous.
Do they make stops? Do they make stops so that people can tip cows on the way?
Oh yeah, you could probably go and maybe even milk a cow or something. But maybe milk a horse. I don't know. Ride a horse, ride a cowboy. But yeah, you could jump off the bus. And check out some of the scenery along the way because the bus is accessible. The very frequent service on the 72. The number 70 is not as accessible for the frequency. They are accessible from the ferry terminal to downtown. Both are. Do they need more service? Oh, absolutely. I think that the transit should be increasing the frequency because of the amount of population that's here now. A lot of interprovincial migration has been coming to Victoria, and I don't blame people for coming here. It's just we don't have the resources to provide for. I guess we do. It's just the governments just don't want to put the resources into the public transit. Our public tax dollars pay for the service already. It's paid through your BC Hydro, property taxes, you name it. It's all paid for. So the waiting time sometimes to get onto some of these buses at the ferry terminal, it's outrageous sometimes. You're just squished in like a sardine in a can in some cases.
Remember, wasn't it Tom actually that said one time that when you think of everything that's on the shelf now at a grocery store, that's stuff that's already paid for already, right? Even though like you and I haven't paid for it yet because we haven't bought it off the shelf yet. But if it's manufactured, it actually means that it's already been paid for. And when we buy it off the shelf, it means that now they have money to manufacture more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when it comes to the transit, the same thing. Like it's already paid for. Those buses are already paid for. The infrastructure that has to go into, they have jumper queues that they have set up for the buses to go into their to like a bus exchange and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of money that goes into bus exchanges and kind of the traffic changes too, the traffic stops and how they set everything up. And yes, there's a lot of money goes into it, but it's an investment that is made into our transportation network within Victoria and other regions. But it's already bought and paid for, and now they're just recouping it with, again, your tax dollars are now you're paying for it again because now you're having to basically pay for that service. So yes, it's already bought and paid for, but now you're paying for it again through like hydro, transit levy fees, and property taxes, like I said. And so getting to the Cowichan Valley, there's definitely not a lot of bus service going out to Cowichan Valley. We got a number 66 bus. At one time, it used to be the number 44, and then they had the 66. Now it's just the 66. It's a commuter bus that runs between Cowichan Valley and Victoria, British Columbia, early in the morning. In the morning, going from Cowichan Valley, which is Duncan, out to Victoria, drops off the commuters. There's all morning trips, and then they go out in the afternoon. They leave out in the afternoon at 1:44, 1:45-ish from downtown Victoria. That's the first one. The next one's at 3:15. So they kind of scatter it out. They had done a few modifications with that service out in the Cowichan to better service the connections for commuters. There was a lot of complaint that was going on where it wasn't accessible during the weekdays. And still, it's not accessible at all. It needs to be a lot more improvements. But there was all the buses were starting like really early in the morning, like AM hours, like before 6 o'clock, and the last one was at 7 something in the morning, 7:26, I believe it was. Like wow, and that was the last bus of the day going from Cowichan Valley to Victoria. Now they moved it to 9:26. So it helps for people that are in the Cowichan Valley. Maybe they didn't want to get up as early. Now they're going out. And that's going from Cowichan to Victoria. That's not going from Victoria back to Cowichan, everybody. So I just want everybody to understand that it's a one-way trip for commuters in the morning from Cowichan to Victoria.
And then there's a huge gap. There's a huge gap.
Gap. Yeah, and so now all those buses are parked for the day when they get to Victoria. They're parked for the day. Don't ask me what the bus drivers are doing for the whole day because they're getting there in the morning and then late in the afternoon, they're leaving for the day. So again, there needs to be service that's reliable, accessible during the daytime. There should be a bus that should be going out during the day in the morning from Victoria, but Cowichan runs their own transit system. It is run by a France company, Transdev Canada, which is the main I guess partner, which they run it by. But it's a French company who actually owns and operates that, has that contract. And it's contracted by BC Transit, who basically handed it out to a third-party vendor who, unfortunately, they had a transit strike for almost 8 months in 2025. It put the transit service at halt, and then people couldn't get around. You could not get to or from Cowichan Valley to Victoria, vice versa.
Sorry, Brent, I want to stop you there because you know how there's been so much talk about elbows up and buy BC and buy Canada and all this like pretty talk from the politicians, right? You have Carney guilty of that, the Prime Minister, and then you have EB saying that all the time. But then what happens? You have all this like outsourcing
Mm-hmm.
to international companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've talked privately off the podcast a number of times because I mean, I don't think I've ever even mentioned much before. I used to work for RBC, the Royal Bank of Canada, for like over 5 years. I did that. The bulk of my time there was actually as a technical analyst. Like I was in a call center helping staff, helping tellers all across Canada when they had a problem with their computers or a problem with their cash dispenser machines or anything like that. They would call in to us, and I was tier 1 support. And so I did that for almost 5 years, but then RBC outsourced everything to India. And you're seeing that more and more where you get all this outsourcing and like you just said with the France company.
Yes.
Why is our politicians, I mean, they like I said, they have the elbows up, like buy BC, buy Canada. But why is our politicians say that, and yet they're so allergic to actually keeping the talent and keeping the economies, like the actual money. Like if you're outsourcing to like France, that means that the money is staying in France. It's not staying in Canada. That money is going out to France.
Exactly.
So,
and then
so why is that not our money? Why do not the politicians and all the businesses be more concerned about keeping Canadian money, Canadian talent in Canada, or BC talent in BC, or whatever province, right?
Yeah,
it
and
really bugs me. It really bugs me, Brent.
Well, yeah, me too. Because it doesn't have to be that way, and that's why the bus drivers became very, very upset, and their livelihoods basically became non-existent when it came to being able to pay their mortgages, pay their rent, the cost of living, just to survive. All the communities, the whole region. I mean, it's not just within Nanaimo to Cowichan to Victoria. I mean, the whole broader effect of tourism. People couldn't even take the transit bus if they wanted to explore Vancouver Island. It basically just created a roadblock. And France, the Transdev, they didn't care. They didn't care. We actually went. Sonia and myself, we went on and a whole bunch of others. One of our guests that we've had on, Eric Doherty, we met with him in Victoria, and he was actually with us. We went on a bus ride, a chartered bus that was actually.
We put a video up on the YouTube channel, by the way.
Yeah,
people can find it somewhere.
Yeah, we went on a bus ride out to Cowichan Valley to join with the bus drivers that are contracted out by BC Transit through Transdev. We met up in solidarity, and I let the government know with no certain terms that this is not okay. Basically affecting people with disabilities, people low income, seniors, just anybody that are commuting from Cowichan to Victoria. They need to have reliable, accessible transit. And I told them stop contracting out. So in my view, there needs to be a lot more work that needs to be done. I'd like to see Victoria provide their own public transit out to Cowichan. The excuse that I hear everybody is, and I've talked to BC Transit, and I've talked to some people within Victoria Regional Transit District regarding this too. They say, well, Cowichan Valley provides their transit service to our region. We're not responsible. I said, I get it. I know that you're not responsible. They come into your neck of the woods. They provide the service. However, you need to provide your service to Cowichan so that people can get to and from throughout the day. Like you can go in the morning then, because right now you can get from Victoria outbound to Cowichan on that bus that leaves Duncan in the morning, but you can't come back the same day. The only day that you can actually get to and from Cowichan is on a Saturday. And people are like, what? That makes no sense. So you can only go on a Saturday? Yep, you can. You can go to and from, Cowichan on a Saturday. And you can actually go as far as Nanaimo. So when I talk about Nanaimo now, is that you can go all the way from Victoria to Duncan, transfer out to a bus that goes to Nanaimo. So in a sense, on a Saturday, you can go all the way out and come back that same day. You could do it on a weekday, but you can't get back.
Well, you know what? That whole thing always reminds me, whenever you talk about this, and you talk about it a lot, but whenever you talk about it, it always reminds me of that Eagles song, Hotel California.
Yeah.
You know, you can check in anytime you like, but you can never leave, right?
Exactly. And it's enjoyable taking a bus ride. I haven't done that since early last year. Actually, yeah, very early last year. It was late January of 2025. Late January of 2025, everybody, because Cowichan Valley Transit was on strike from Transdev. I'll say it again, Transdev. Thank you very much for not allowing me to have access.
And again, all the money is going to France. It doesn't stay in Canada. It's going to France.
Exactly, and they were still making the money. I mean, why? Because BC Transit has a contract with Transdev, so they still got that money coming in. Yeah, and so I never got to take transit all the way from February all the way until October. And when October hit, I couldn't take the service did get up and running. I just wasn't able to take the transit. There was a lot of things going on in our lives at the time, personal, so I won't really get into that. 2025 was not a good year in many aspects. I'm glad we're in 2026 now. So I wasn't really able to really utilize that bus service since actually it relaunched. I haven't taken it once since October when it relaunched, and that was one of my game plans. I couldn't go and see family or nobody. So yeah, again, you have a transit pass and you can't utilize it properly because you can't connect to communities. So getting from Nanaimo, you can get from Nanaimo in the morning. Like you can go at about 8 o'clock, a few minutes before 8. You can catch a bus at that time, back out to Cowichan, and you can get a transfer. You transfer point and you catch the last bus that goes out to Victoria. So anyone who's going from Nanaimo, though, the Nanaimo Regional District, they actually provide their own transit service. It's paid for within the Nanaimo what does it stand for? Well, anyway, it's the Nanaimo Regional Transit District. They pay for their own transit within the city. And of course, they're still part of BC Transit, right? They still have the BC Transit franchise. They pay into the franchise, and that's how that works. And they all pay into the franchise, really. End of the day, some are contracted out, but to third party. Third party vendors. Nanaimo, no, they don't contract out. No, not at all. But they're working on getting a service where I think eventually to make it go all the way to Campbell River. Right now, they have an agreement with Campbell River where they have a transit and they have a Nanaimo one that's going to go toward Lansville, just past there. And then you can get off it and transfer onto a bus that goes out to Campbell River. Now, that's pretty cool. It's not very often, though. It's very limited service. There's more expansion that needs to be done. However, both regions have taken that initiative to make it more accessible for the transit for riders. But from that point on, there is no connection to go up to like Port Alberni, like areas like that. Unfortunately, they have their own service out there. I like to see it all interconnected, more of a regional connection where better transfer points, better yet, island coach lines had their own service going. I'm not sure, Neil, what happened with them. They were actually quite reliable at one time. A little bit pricey, though.
So but they don't have that going anymore? They
have it going, but even some of my neighbors are complaining nonstop. And I said, I don't know what's happening with them. I can't reach them. They have very limited service. It's only seasonal. They went to seasonal service only. And even then, like, it was a hit and miss. They were running when they were running. They didn't have a dedicated schedule now.
Right.
So now they have Island Link. Island Link is more of a motorhome, like a small little, it's almost like maybe not even a motorhome. It's like a miniature, I call it like a miniature motorhome. It's like a handy dart, but like a bigger handy dart.
Right.
Van, cash basis only, and it's first come, first served. So if that van is full, you can't get on. However, I will give them credit though. Okay, I will. I'm not here to basically bash them. They are accessible. They have a lot of different trips throughout the day. That's the positive part. The negative part is they're very expensive. It's $45 per person, one way, Victoria to Nanaimo.
That's big coin.
Yeah, per person. So $90 for two people. And they won't stop in Duncan, everybody. They will not. They go right through Duncan. They won't stop. And that's what I miss on Vancouver Island is having that connection of intercity connection of a dedicated bus service. And BC Transit can do this. It's really that political will of connecting the service. And that's one of my goals this year is to really push the government and the municipalities and have them work together and provide a more reliable transit service on Vancouver Island and also in rural communities. I'd like to go to different regions, sure, but I can't get there. I can't pay $45 one way just to take Island Link. That's just to Nanaimo.
We used to have $45 a year bus passes too, Brent.
We did.
What happened to that?
Well,
poof.
Yeah, it abracadabra. We did have a bus pass for people with disabilities, but yeah, we're going to talk on that one.
And isn't it interesting that a woman in a wheelchair, a Paralympian, so she herself had a disability, and isn't it very strange, Brent, that somebody in a wheelchair, Paralympian, actually advocated to remove a bus pass that was helping 99.99% of people with disabilities in this province. Don't you find that very strange, Brent, where somebody in a wheelchair that should have known better went out of her way to advocate against keeping a bus pass that was working for 99.9% of the population?
Only five people.
Five people kiboshed
the whole system
and killed this $45 per year bus pass. One rogue politician in a wheelchair who should have known better, one rogue politician can just go ahead and silence all of the voices of people with disabilities in this province. Let me say the name now. It was Michelle Stilwell. I kind of deliberately avoided using the name initially, but we should say on public record it was Michelle Stilwell. We'll put her picture up so if, I think most people in BC know who she is and remember the damage that she did. But she was well paid. She was well paid as a minister of disability. Well paid to do her damage. They have the stupid opt in, opt out every single month. You can stay opted in, you can stay opted out. It doesn't matter. So that's a choice too. Don't get me wrong, but it's also a choice that people can opt in or opt out every single freaking month. You can do this. I mean, think about all of the extra what do you want to call it, overhead administration.
I was just going to say,
when you have to have people opting in, opting out every freaking month.
All the bureaucracy.
So stupid.
Yeah,
stupid.
And the minister at the time for MSDPR, she claimed that it was fairness and equity in the system, and said that
it's fair to take a bus pass away for everybody.
Yeah, she's saying, well, if you stay opted in to the bus pass, you're always going to have that bus pass. So I mean, I understand. Yes, if you stay opted in, yes, you're always going to have the equivalent of that $45 a year bus pass. But now you still have that option of opting out of not getting that bus pass, but have $52 once a month. So, and everybody knows that the buying power these days, it's now a lot worse than when the minister first changed that system. $52 now doesn't buy you very much groceries at all. But guess what? if you take that money, right, by default, it's going to go on your check. Unless you tell the ministry, no, I want that bus pass. Sure, you can stay opted in, but you don't get that $52. So if you take that $52, you got no transportation. So how do you go to the store and you buy your groceries?
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah. Well, you can keep the $52 for groceries.
Yeah.
But then you don't have a bus.
But how do you
Or you can take the bus, but then you don't have the $52 for groceries. Like, how much more simple it was to have a $45 a year bus pass that was valid for the entire year, Brent.
Yes.
Was valid for the entire year. You made one payment for the entire year. It was valid for the entire year.
$45.
So simple to administer. One payment for 1 year. That was it. And you still had the choice of if you didn't want the bus pass, you didn't have to pay the $45, and that's fine. That was still your choice.
Yeah.
Right. But you know.
But here's the thing: seniors they have that same bus pass.
Seniors have it.
Again, accessible transit to everybody. I'm going to do another segment, so stay tuned in the near future, and I'm going to talk about cross-country regional transportation network. I've got some updated news on that, so stay tuned. It's a developing story. I think that people might be excited to hear about that news coming up.
Okay, sounds good, Brent.
Yeah.
Cheers, everyone.